Okay, so that is Florence, 1503, and I did not expect the smell to hit me first. Leather, wet stone, and something baking 2 streets over. I've time traveled a lot at this point, but I've never gone anywhere just to watch someone paint. Today, that's literally it. That's the whole plan. So here's what I know going in. There is a painting 3 centuries in future from today that people will stand in line for hours just to see for 30 seconds. People will call it cursed. People will say it's been chasing bad luck around Europe for 500 years, and somewhere in this city, right now, today, a man named Leonardo da Vinci is about to start painting it. I want to watch it happen from the very beginning. Simple, right? Meet Leonardo, watch him paint, figure out how he did it, in and out. I did not know what I was walking into. Let's go. So, quick catch-up for anyone landing on this video fresh. The woman in the painting is believed to be Lisa Gherardini, wife of a wealthy Florentine silk merchant named Francesco del Giocondo. She's 24 right now. She's recently had her second son. The family just moved into a new house near the Medici Palace, and around here, a new house and a new baby is exactly the kind of thing that gets you a commissioned portrait. That's most likely why this is happening at all. Nothing mysterious yet. Just a proud husband and a painter he'd heard good things about. That painter is 30 minutes away from meeting me, and I am nervous in a way I did not expect to be. Okay, so this is his workshop, and it is not what I pictured. I thought grand studio, I thought assistants running everywhere. It's actually kind of cluttered. There are sketches everywhere. Bits of anatomy studies pinned up next to what looks like a drawing of water swirling around a rock. This man is working on flowing water in the human body at the same time as a portrait commission. Excuse me. Hi, I'm so sorry to intrude. I was told I might be able to watch you work today.
He barely looked up.
Just kind of waved me toward a stool in the corner. So I'm sitting. I'm watching. And Lisa is here too, sitting very still, very patient, in this soft green dress. And Leonardo is just looking at, not painting.
Looking.
For a long time. This is going to follow him for the rest of his life. I don't know that yet, standing in this room. But it is. And I want to be really clear about something before this goes further. If this was a portrait for her husband's new house, the kind of thing you paint, you finish, and you hand over the wall, why did Leonardo apparently never actually deliver it to him? That's not me being dramatic. That's a real, documented oddity. A Florentine official named Agostino Vespucci saw Leonardo working on this exact portrait in 1503 and wrote it down at the time. And yet there's no record of the painting ever hanging in the Del Giocondo house. Vasari, writing decades later, said Leonardo left it unfinished. So somewhere between commissioned portrait and delivered to husband, something happened. Or rather, something didn't happen. I don't have an answer yet. I just have a very strange feeling sitting on this stool. Okay, so I've been watching for almost 2 hours now, and I need to explain something because it is genuinely driving me a little insane. He is not painting the way I thought painting worked. There's no hard outline, no sharp edge where her cheek ends and the shadow begins. He is building this incredibly thin, almost see-through layer of paint, letting it dry, and then adding another one on top. Over and over, like he's not painting a face so much as growing one. I asked one of his assistants what he was doing to the corner of her mouth, because he had been sitting on that exact spot for what felt like forever. He said Leonardo doesn't believe a line should ever just stop. He said shadows and light are supposed to blend like smoke losing itself in the air. That's apparently something Leonardo actually says. Smoke losing itself in the air, for the corner of a mouth. This technique has a name, by the way, sfumato, from the Italian word for smoke. And it's not just artistic flair. Leonardo had spent years studying optics, how light actually hits the eye, how our vision blurs edges the farther something sits from the direct center of our focus. He was building that blur into the paint on purpose. He'd also been dissecting bodies to understand exactly how muscles move under skin, so when he softened an edge, he knew precisely what he was softening. I came in here expecting to watch a man paint a portrait. I am instead watching a man reverse engineer human vision itself, one microscopic layer at a time. Why is he doing this much for one commission?
Nobody asked for this.
Nobody's paying extra for this. He's just doing it anyway. So it's later that same week, and I've come back because I need to talk about her face, specifically her mouth. Because every single time I look at her, I swear it's different. I know how that sounds. Let me explain what I actually mean. Yesterday, from where I was sitting, she looked like she was almost laughing at something. But today, from 2 feet to the left, she looks almost sad. Genuinely sad. Same painting, same day, basically. I moved my head about 8 inches and her entire mood changed. I actually stopped one of the workshop boys and asked if he saw it too.
He said everyone says that.
He said Leonardo gets asked about it constantly and just shrugs. Here's the thing, and this is where it stops being spooky and starts being genuinely brilliant. Because there's no hard line at the corner of her mouth, your eye has nothing to lock onto. Your brain has to fill in the gap itself. And depending on whether you're looking directly at her mouth or slightly to the side, at her eyes, the light-sensitive part of your vision picks up different information and quite literally reconstructs a different expression. Researchers centuries from now will actually study this properly and call that soft, blended little patch near her mouth an ambiguity, the exact zone Leonardo controlled to make sure your eye could never fully settle. So no, she's not moving. Nothing supernatural is happening on this canvas. What's happening is happening in the person looking at it. Leonardo didn't paint an expression. He painted a question your own brain has to keep answering. Over and over. Forever. I don't know why that unsettles me as much as it does. But it does. Okay, so I need to fast forward because here's where this stops making any sense at all. I'm standing in this workshop. Lisa is sitting for him. A day later, I come back. Same workshop, same painting on the easel. She's not even sitting for him most days anymore. But the portrait is still right there, propped up, and he's still touching it. I come back again. Florence looks a little different around me. Leonardo looks a little older.
Grayer.
And the painting, the same painting, is still there. Still not finished. Still not delivered. By most accounts, the actual sitting sessions with Lisa wrapped up somewhere around 1506. That should have been it. Paint the final details, varnish it, hand it over, done. But it was not done. I want to be really clear about something here, because I think it's important. This does not mean Leonardo sat in that one room painting this one portrait, brush in hand, for the next decade. That's not what happened. During these same years, he's dissecting cadavers to draw the human heart in more anatomical detail than anyone had before him. He's designing weapons and canal systems for whoever's paying him at the time. He's studying the flight of birds. He's moving between Florence, Milan, and eventually Rome, working for different patrons on different projects. This man is doing about 11 careers at once. But somewhere in the middle of all of that, through every move, every new patron, every new obsession, the portrait comes with him. He keeps it. He doesn't sell it. He doesn't hand it over. He just keeps it close, and every so often when the mood takes him, he opens it back up and adds one more impossibly thin layer of paint that almost nobody will ever consciously notice. And here's the thing that actually helped me make sense of this, at least a little. Mona Lisa was not the only project Leonardo did this with. He'd already abandoned an altarpiece years earlier called The Adoration of the Magi, worked on it obsessively for about 2 years, then just left it unfinished forever. Patrons complained about him constantly. He had a reputation, even in his own lifetime, for starting things and never quite calling them done. So maybe the curse, if there is one, isn't inside this painting at all. Maybe it's inside him. I don't know yet. But that's the theory I'm chasing now. At this point, my whole investigation has quietly changed shape. I stopped trying to figure out how he painted this thing. Now I just want to understand why he can't put it down. Okay, so this next part genuinely gave me chills, and I need to walk you through it properly. Leonardo is 64 years old. His hand, from what I can see, isn't as steady as it used to be. His main patron in Rome has just died, and two much younger painters, Michelangelo and Raphael, are getting all the attention he used to get. So the King of France, Francis I, makes him an offer. Come to France, live comfortably, keep working on whatever you want. Leonardo says yes. He is an old man now, crossing the Alps on muleback, leaving Italy for good. And when I catch up with him on the other side, in this quiet manor house called Clos Lucé near Amboise, I already know what I'm going to find before I even walk in. The painting is there. 13 years. 2 countries. Half a dozen patrons. An entire mountain range crossed at 64 years old. And this one portrait of a Florentine silk merchant's wife has followed him every single step of the way, tucked in with his notebooks and a couple of his other unfinished favorites. I keep asking myself the same question standing in this room. Why this one? Out of everything this man ever touched, why does this specific painting refuse to leave his side? So it's 1519 now. Leonardo is 67. His right hand, the one he used to paint with, is largely paralyzed at this point, most likely from a stroke. He can still think, still sketch a little with his left hand, still talk for hours with the young king who visits him constantly, and apparently calls him my father. I came back today because I think this might be one of the last times I get to see him. He is so different from the man I met in that cluttered Florence workshop 16 years ago. Older, slower, further from home than he's ever been. Everything about his life has changed completely. The country, the language around him, his own body. And the painting is still in the room with him. I don't think it's accurate to say he died, leaving it unfinished, like it was some tragic accident, some job cut short. That's not really what the evidence shows. It's more like he simply never treated it as an ordinary commission that gets completed and handed over. He kept returning to it, refining it, right up until there was no time left to return to it anymore. It stopped being a portrait he was making for someone else a very long time ago. At some point, without anyone deciding it out loud, it just became his. So here's where I landed. Here's the actual curse, if you want to call it that. I don't think Mona Lisa was ever cursed. I think Leonardo was. Not with anything supernatural. With something a lot more human, and honestly a lot more relatable than I expected walking into this. He spent his entire life studying how light actually behaves, how water actually moves, how a muscle actually pulls on skin, how the eye itself actually sees. And once you start understanding a face, or anything at that level of detail, I think it becomes almost impossible to just stop and call it done. There's always one more transition that could be softer, one more layer that could catch the light slightly better, one more truth about how people actually look that you haven't quite gotten onto the panel yet. Mona Lisa didn't take 16 years because something was wrong with her. She took 16 years because Leonardo could never fully convince himself he'd finished seeing her. That's the curse. Not a hex. Not bad luck. Just a man who was constitutionally incapable of believing anything was ever truly finished, pouring that exact obsession into one small portrait until it became the most studied, most stared at, most quietly unsettling painting on earth. And honestly, the strange story doesn't even end with Leonardo. Centuries later, this painting gets stolen right out of the Louvre in broad daylight by a man who used to work there. Just walks it out under his coat. And that theft, more than anything Leonardo ever did to it, is probably the single biggest reason this specific portrait became the most famous painting in the world instead of just one of his many masterpieces. But that's a whole other story for another day. I came into this trip thinking I was going to watch a man paint a picture. Instead, I watched 16 years pass across 2 countries, and I watched one portrait quietly outlast almost everything else in his life. I don't think there's a ghost in that panel. I think there's just a person who spent his whole life chasing something he could never quite catch. And for one brief moment in a workshop in Florence in 1503, that chase found a face to attach itself to. Anyway, I need to go find out what happens to this painting after he's gone. Because trust me, it does not stay quiet for long. If you want to see where the Mona Lisa goes next, make sure you're subscribed. That one's coming. Goodbye from Amboise, 1519.